All right, welcome to this episode of Chess Table Talks. I don't like to introduce people, but we got the Hilltop Glove podcast. I'm going to let them introduce themselves individually. Go ahead, guys.
I'll go first. I got the mic. And I'm the only female. My name is Tamaya Allen, co-host of the Hilltop Glove podcast. We're missing one member today, Mike, so you guys will get to see him soon.
Tell us a little bit about yourselves, too. A little bit.
Okay, so I do a lot. I'm from Charleston, South Carolina, but I went to Benedict, so I just stayed up here after I graduated. I do photography, videography, podcasting, modeling, teach yoga, a whole nine.
Wow,
anything creative.
That is anything.
Yeah, I have a million jobs.
Yeah. My name is DJ and What, aka real name is Anwar Staggers. Just so y'all need to find me, as they can find me, I'm the only one. I am co-host on the Hilltop Glove podcast, along with Tamaya, Mike, and of course my brother Skip. And off time, I can and do DJ whenever I need to. I do like DJing; it is fun, so I do it for contracts only. I don't really close anything anymore. I'm too old for that. And then I do like, this is interesting. I actually work at the orthopedic office during the day, so that's a daytime job. Outside of that, I'm just working with these folks here, doing fun stuff, going around town to town, get good interviews in.
Gotcha. And over here, I just found out your name is Skip. This is news to me.
Yeah. All right, so my nickname is Skip. It's a college nickname. I'm from a friend's school, but my government name is Kevin Staggers. And of course, that's my brother Anwar. Then, so as far as where we're from,
All over
everywhere. So we were born in New Haven, Connecticut.
Yep.
That's our hometown, but we grew up mostly in Marion, South Carolina.
Yep.
And then the last year of high school for me, we moved to Lexington, South Carolina.
Okay.
So went there, once I graduated there, went to school called Charleston, down there for a few years, came back up here, and that's pretty much it. Now, I guess my background, photography, videography, but my first love, especially what I was known for locally, was more music production.
Yep.
Okay. So you were a DJ, you were a producer.
Mm-hmm.
Got you. Give us a little bit something about Mike. Tell us something about Mike. Because Mike does bullets for Band-Aid thing, right?
Yeah.
The most interesting man in America.
Yes, he is. So Mike is from Gilbert, South Carolina. So yeah, he grew up in Gilbert. We met Mike. I've known Mike now for over 20 years. So I've known Mike since 2001.
Okay.
But like I said, he's a real good friend of ours. There's like a group of us as well. And we're all cool with each other from over there, from Lexington. But Mike went to USC. And he actually, after USC, he just, like I said, he stayed in Columbia. So, of course, his involvement, he's with Bullets and Band-Aids. Of course, his co-host, co-producer, of course, with the Hilltop Glove. And then he's just a huge arts fan, huge fan of the culture. Like I almost said, one of the most interesting men in North America.
Oh, he also holds a day job.
Oh, he also holds a day job, has beautiful wife, beautiful son, child. He does the thing.
Sounds like all you guys wear a lot of hats. Like you guys do a lot of, you guys are multi-talented.
Yeah, we do a lot for other people. And now we're doing things for ourselves.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on that. But so you guys, you two are brothers, whatever. But basically, 4 individuals come together. Hilltop Glove podcast. Explain the name. Hilltop Glove.
Yeah, I guess I should explain that. That's why I'm wearing this hat. This is a cool thing. So I have my Seattle Supersonics hat on. As everybody knows, Seattle Supersonics have become the Oklahoma City Thunder, which is, they ain't no real team. But it's all good. I'm happy they did. It's a good team. I like basketball. But growing up, there was this place we used to go play basketball at. It was called the Hilltop. Now, my favorite basketball player all time is Gary Payton, a.k.a. The Glove, known for his defensive prowess. That's the name. So, of course, when it came time to come up for a name for the podcast, we wanted something that was unique and something that would be able to tell us and separate us from everybody else. So, of course, my little nickname when I played ball up there, because as all little kids don't know, when you play sports, you give yourself a nickname.
Right.
So my name was the Hilltop Glove. Thus, the name of the podcast, because if you hear that name, no one's going to explain, you don't know what it is. It's too unique. So you're like, all right, so what is it? So it forces people to ask and ponder about why it's called that and what it is. And when you bring up that question, it allows us to give you a very good answer, but also bring you a little bit into our world and what it is we do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I get the name, but how did you guys, the particular members, how did you guys all come together?
All right, so this is a long story. I'm gonna let Skip hit the list because it literally is from the start.
All right, so started was around 2019, 2018, 2019. Myself, along with Tamaya, we were working with a brother by the name of Eric Tyndall, who goes by the name Kinetic Life, and he developed a networking event for producers called BCon. And so it was basically two types of events he was doing. One, it was just like a meetup for producers called Producer Sessions, and then we had brought the idea of doing the beat battles. This is neat because you just did an interview with Shaquise. But years ago, Nonstop Hip Hop Live used to do Beat Street Beat Battle, and it was an awesome event because of the fact that it was one of the few events in Columbia where you had everyone across the spectrum of the hip hop community would come together. Just to like fellowship, collaborate, network, and just have a good time. Just like I said, producers playing music, beats against each other. It was really dope. And so they had stopped that when they transitioned into doing Love, Peace, and Hip Hop. And so I was really communicating with them about just bringing that back, that concept back. And so in so many ways, they're like, yeah, y'all should definitely take it on and should rock with it. And so that's when I had brought that idea initially to Eric. And that's how we started working on BCon. And so when we were trying to come up with the idea and the concept of how to put it together, we knew we wanted to try different things with this project as opposed to what we saw in the past. So we really wanted to find a way to where we could have like a balance where we could have not just like your boom bappers and then of course like your trap, but we also want to have that male-female vibe too, because a lot of times you would go to places and it'd be just like strictly males, Timbs, rugged,
right.
You know, everybody like 40 plus, you know, gray beard, you know, everyone fans of MOP, no disrespect to MOP, but you know, it's just
right.
that
I love
type of
MOP,
vibe,
yeah.
right? And so, but then it's like we would go to events where it would be like, you know, ladies in here before free, brunch type thing, and then that had a cool vibe to it too. And we're like, okay, well, what can we do? We know we can't have like the perfect, you know, it can't be like the perfect balance, but what can we do to make it to where everybody that's a fan of the culture feels welcome and included coming to this event, right? And so one of the things that I realized was as much of a male presence you gotta have a female presence too.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the story of how I connected with Tamaya. And so what ended up happening was, at the time, I was working on some music for an artist. He's no longer here in Columbia, but he was in Columbia. Well, both of them were, but Cole Connor and Hero.
Mm-hmm.
And so one day I was meeting up with Cole Connor at his place, and he was doing an interview for his podcast with a woman by the name of Sylvia Darlene. And so Sylvia used to be on the radio here, but she had a podcast called Say More. But one of Sylvia's good friends is Tamaya.
Ah, got you.
And so initially it started out me connecting with Sylvia, so like I said, to collaborate with her and then let her know, hey, you know, we're putting together a beat battle, and I really feel like that you would be a good co-host in helping us promote the event and just helping promote the event because it was a different group
Right.
that we've seen just community-wise within the culture here too, because they were skewed a little younger as well. And so, like I said, so Cole kind of made that connection, vouched for us or whatever. And so that's how we were able to build that relationship. Now the irony of it was, we didn't know that Tamaya came along with the package as well. Because like I said, they were working collaboratively with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Also, because they were known as SC Carolina Queens. Is that correct? Yep. SC Carolina Queens. And it's ironic how, you know, like how time passes, relationships kind of build, because a lot of times I'll notice in life you'll meet people, but you don't realize that you're gonna have connections with the other people and that's kind of what happened. And so when we started all working collectively on BCon and we started working on projects, what I realized was Tamaya was the one that when it came down to like actually helping like really with supporting and following up and also bringing like the technical skill and background at support, she was the one that was just was bringing it to the table as well. And so I seen that, and then I started working with them on the Say More podcast with Sylvia, now her husband Nate, and we were helping on the production side. And then, like I said, she was helping to co-host, and she was on episodes, but she preferred to be in the behind the scenes, just like me as well. So fast forward, end of 2020, my brother and I started putting together the podcast on the Hilltop Glove, and as we were doing interviews, like I said, not only we interviewed Tamaya on episode 8. It was a great interview. We had great rapport, And as we're talking, we just realized, why isn't Tamaya involved with this part of the podcast? It makes plenty of sense. We always work with each other. And then even the thing with Mike, too, because for years, me and Mike have always worked on music with each other. And so when it came to putting together our team, I was like, okay, well, just, Kevin, think about people that over the years that you've always had a good working relationship with and that have the same thing. We've always done quality work, but we've always done quality work in support of others. So let's go ahead and put a team together where we're supporting each other and we're actually doing something that benefits us for a change. There's no disrespect to anybody else, but we just knew that it was just time to do that. And with 2020, a lot of things just kind of came into perspective. And I think that's one of those things that happen.
Got you. So I'm gonna get into Create in a second because they kind of go with each other. It's like what made you guys decide to base your podcast around giving a spotlight to other artists? Because your podcast, a lot of podcasts, there's people on there just talking about whatever. But you guys decided to use your podcast to spotlight other artists, and I think that's dope or whatever. So what guys made you do that as opposed to something that was more self-serving, just talking about yourselves or whatever?
I feel like all of us together, we're used to collaborating with people, and we would like to build a community of creatives. So with that being said, that's how we all have our own resources. So we basically just bring them all together and interview certain people from each area. And it's a collaborative thing. We don't compete with anybody because nobody can do what we do.
I love it. I love saying that. I like the confidence. I like the swag in it. And we talked about this before. I was lucky enough to be a guest on your podcast. So like I said, and we actually tried to do this before. We actually did we actually recorded this podcast before, but the audio went nuts or whatever, and we weren't able to keep it or whatever. We could have kept it, but I wanted the quality of the audio to be top notch or whatever.
Back by popular demand.
Right, exactly. Yeah, exactly. The people been wanting y'all. But I will say this: besides me, who is the best interview you guys have done? Because clearly, we don't have to say. Me.
Yeah.
But besides me.
Shaquisa's just here.
Yeah, Shaquisa's just here. We gotta get Shaquisa to be stupid not to, man. That interview was dope. Plus, we've known him for a while too, so to be able to speak with him and get his perspective in a different set. Normally, we're just speaking to him as peers, but to have him on the podcast and let him talk about what he does and how much he has done over the history and the course of culture here in Columbia, even on an educational stance and also within culture. Matter of fact, it's funny that we were talking about him. Some of the projects that he's worked on, he's actually worked closely with people that we know. So to know somebody who's doing that and watching them do it from the get-go and ask them for help and getting information from people like him and Fat Rat, aka Master Splinter, it is dope. So to have those folks on, it makes it really smooth. We've had so many though, right? We were talking about this on our recap. It's hard to put it all together because normally people, and this is what you were saying, this is interesting about our podcast, it's not just artists. So the main thing about our podcast is we want to talk and learn from people who have done well with adulting, specifically from millennials who don't normally have manuals on how to grow up and be adults and to do things that normal adults need to do to make sure that we are productive citizens.
Right.
And so one of our biggest things is to find the people who are doing those things and to ask them about their steps, their processes, and how they made it to the place that they are at. So we talk to people. If you're a beekeeper, we'll holler at you and see what you're doing as a beekeeper to make things pop out here.
Right.
If you're a person who makes fine soaps and scents and you're good at that business, we're going to talk to you about that because we know that there's millennials that want to do that but don't have a handbook on how to get there or how to do that. Because everybody, we realize, can't be an artist in the sense of a traditional, I'm going to go out there, I perform, or I do this for a living.
Right.
Some people are going to run businesses. Some people are going to work 9 to 5. So say if you're a newspaper editor, we're going to speak to you about that because we know that's something that people are going to have interest in and it's going to affect their ability to then go out and make sure that they're productive in society. And we love productive citizens, specifically on our podcast. We love people who are productive. So if you're out there and you're productive, please come find us. We'd love to have you on our podcast. I always tell folks that it is serious. That's really where we're at on that.
Awesome. Also, check. But also check. I did it real quick. I held that for dramatic effect.
He was plotting.
So Create. Talk to me about Create. Specifically, the documentary that you guys put together, but also just in general what it is.
All right, so the concept to create came about as a result of the interviews we were having on the podcast. And so probably starting back at the very beginning, around season 5, we had interviewed Corey Rockbottom Davis.
Yes.
And this is where the theme started, where we started picking up on this theme. And
Yeah, Corey's down there.
Yeah, shout out to Corey. And one of the things he was talking about was like issues as far as in the arts community, especially for Black artists and Black creatives, whether or not it's having a platform in order, or venues in order to be able to present their work. Another thing that came up was opportunities to be able to gain resources, funding to be able to support their work and their project, and then just some of the battles that come with that. Especially if you're someone who's just trying to get established in the community and you don't have a name yet.
Right.
Because a lot of times, if you aren't a known commodity and you don't have somebody in this community to kind of vouch for you, that's a part of the mainstream.
Right.
It's very difficult for you to make those moves. And he was talking about it not just from the sense of someone who's already established, but he was also talking about it for someone who's trying to break in and just having those different venues and those opportunities, and how over the years those things kind of dried up. Starting around 2010, all the way up until at the time was 2021, right? Like I said, in the middle of the pandemic. And that was a thing that we got. But then every time we would talk to other artists and creators, especially from this community, but then even outside of the community, outside of Columbia, it would always bring up those same issues.
Yeah.
And so one of the things we did was we had a conversation about it, and Mike actually brought this up. He was like, as much as I love us having these conversations and talking, it feels like we're being exploitive when it comes to us creating our content, because people are telling us about these problems and their issues they're having, but we're really not offering any solutions or any suggestions. Right. It'd be like if you're going out and you're talking to a group of people, and the group of people's telling you like, hey, let's say I have this house, our houses have termites in, like our houses are being destroyed by termites. You talk to all these people, it's like, okay, I can collect this story, but what am I doing actually to remedy? All I'm doing is just reporting on it, but I'm not sharing anything. And so we felt like it was our responsibility, in a sense, not that we take ownership of it, but we felt like if we want to be like contributing members of the community, we will need to help come up with ways to be able to provide opportunities to figure out what we can do to help. At least in a way to where we don't feel like we're coming in as outsiders with like a savior complex, even from our perspective. So what we ended up doing was we actually got some funding through the SC Arts Commission and through Alternate Roots to do a study where we would actually bring in different artists and creators within the community, and for a series of brunches that we would host. And we would ask them questions as to what their opinions were about the current state of the Columbia arts community, especially for Black artists and creatives. And just asking what are some things that need to be, like what are some suggestions for some things that might need to be done. And so when we collected this information, we did it in a series of surveys, but also video interviews. And so when we collected that information, what we learned was there were 3 areas that people stated that there was room for improvement. One was collaboration amongst fellow artists and creatives. Mm-hmm. That was one that came up. Another one was access to funding or capital for creative projects. That was another. And then the third one was access to spaces for being able to put on events or functions. And that was one. And that was something that came across the board. So we're like, okay, since we know these are issues, what can we do to at least start creating things that can help address those? And so for us, naturally, we saw was the collaborative one, because that's something that we were doing through our podcast itself. And we were looking for a way to expand off of what we were currently doing at the time, which was audio-based. And so we wanted to do something that was meaningful, but something that the culture could also benefit from as well. Mm-hmm. And so naturally, us being, like I said, children of the hip-hop generation, we thought it was very important for us to be able to document the history of South Carolina hip-hop, at least starting to do that with our local pioneers.
Right.
And so that's how Create started, was through the Create Talks project. Because at this time, we didn't know we were going to be doing a nonprofit. This is like the roots of it. This is how everything got built up. And so when it came to us like applying for the funding, of course, well, shout out to Monifa Lemons, Say La the Poet. She's actually the person who actually helped us, taught us how to go through and apply for grants, go through the whole process. So I want to give her a shout out too. So, but I was meeting with her last summer, actually summer 2022, and we were kind of formulating all this. She helped us really strategize on that. But what we ended up doing was, we were like, okay, let's do this Create Talks project, and we were going to be doing we're going to talk to SC Hip Hop pioneers, and we were going to talk to them just about their contribution to the culture, but then most importantly, where do they see SC Hip Hop going in the future? And so the goal was for us for the first year was to originally interview. It started out just trying to interview 10. It ended up being 14, but we ended up actually being able to interview 11. And the beautiful thing about it was, even though as a podcast ourselves, and we had the resources and the capacity to be able to do it on our own, we just didn't feel it would be right from a cultural standpoint just for us to be involved solely with this project and doing these interviews. So we actually reached out to other content creators along with other artists as well who may be interested in participating with the interviewing process. Yep. And that was just, like I said, that was probably like the most beautiful thing about it, because we were bringing in people that may have not normally worked with each other on a collaborative creative project to do these interviews, and it was just awesome seeing that. And the way we matched people up, we try to match people up intentionally with people they may not normally work with. Yeah. And stuff on a daily basis. It has nothing to do with whether or not people don't get along or whatnot. It's just their paths don't touch. Yep. And so we ended up having two book taping dates. And the first one was January, I think it was January 15th, and then the second one was March the 12th, which is a makeup one that we had. And they went smoothly. And that was the collaborative project. Now, when it came to the funding project, one of the things we were looking at was looking at ways to where we can build more awareness of like different grants and funding opportunities out there, how you can go out and actually apply for this funding. Also, what are some of the ways people can gain sponsorships, and just developing resources based off of that. And that's what we're going to be working on more or less long term, developing those resources and a guidebook for doing that. That was another piece. And then also the piece with the space. That's been something that's been a big issue recently in the community, is artists being able to have spaces to be able to like set up studios where they can do their work, or they can have events, and then just finding out like what are some of the ways you can build resources and connections to be able to do that. And so that's really how we ended up coming up with the decision that, hey, maybe we need to start an nonprofit where we help to address some of those things. Mm-hmm. And that's pretty much it.
Okay, so who is a guest that you guys, whether it's through Create or the Hilltop Glove podcast, that you guys have been wanting to book, that you guys have been wanting to interview, that you guys just haven't been able to get so far? Or like a dream, like local, a dream big guest, maybe like I ain't gonna say big, that's wrong. Non-local guest and a local person that you guys would love to interview or trying to.
So local guests. I guess local guests can be like South Carolina, or does that be Columbia?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, South Carolina period. So the irony is we actually just talked to this person earlier today, but there's a guy by the name of Marcus Hammond, who he's actually the founder of the Charleston Black Food Truck Festival. And that's someone we've been wanting to interview for a while now. That's really huge. Because like I said, he's doing some great things down there in the Low Country. And the irony about it is we actually went to school together. And I actually worked with him. They worked together on events and stuff back for a while back in the day. So it was great getting them. And that's, like I said, that's the one that was, for me, that's really huge. And like I said, we're going to be talking to him towards the end of this month. That's going to be huge. But I know Samaya had one.
I got a couple.
Yeah.
I got resources out the wazoo. I definitely want to interview Asia Wilson.
That'd be dope.
I know you talked about her. I want to ask her all the questions.
Yeah, I want to get Dawn.
All the questions that you got for her. Who else? I know some people in Charleston, football players, basketball players, like Chris Middleton, Charles Dunlap, Quinn. So those are on my top list who to interview.
All right, so for me, top on the list, here in the state. You know who I'd like to interview? Tim Scott. That's somebody who I want to interview. You know why?
Let's hear.
Because it'd be interesting because he needs to speak to people outside of where he normally speaks to. It would be nice to actually give somebody what I like to call a soft challenge, rather than to them think that they're going to be like ambushed or etc. Bring them in, let them talk. I want to hear what they say, because one of our issues in our community, we follow trends sometimes too often, rather than just getting a chance to at least let people talk and see what they have to say, give them a chance to prove their mettle.
Right.
So if other platforms can do that, why can't we, right? So, and I know it'd be it's almost radioactive to do, but that's what kind of is my pull to doing it. And then nationally, man, I don't know. I'll tell you what, man. I would aim real high, man. You know who I'd like to talk to? I'd like to talk to Idris Elba. That'd be somebody that I would like to interview. Because, you know, man, I wanted him to be James Bond. Real bad, man. Really bad, because I watched Luther and everything, and I think he's an excellent, fantastic actor. Of course, he has, quote-unquote, aged out from being able to do that now. And apparently, if you pay attention recently, he's been working too hard. So this man had to go to rehab for overworking. So I'm like, all right, he's not going to do that right now. But it would be cool to interview somebody like that.
Okay. All right, before I ask the final question, y'all know what the final question is. The final question. What can you tell us about Hilltop Glove Create going forward? Any news, any exciting news, anything you guys want to talk about? Anything upcoming?
I'm going to leave that with Kev real quick so we don't say something he's supposed to say.
Very cool. All right, because I'm going to forget some stuff. The biggest thing is, so with the Create Talks project. The Create Talks project is done. So we have all 11 episodes, and we're dropping all 11 episodes every Friday over the next couple weeks. So last week we dropped Amari Gamble. He's a Greenville-based producer. He's also a member of the rap duo Amiri and Spectac. Amazing story. He actually has done production for Tribe Called Quest. He's done some stuff with Mr. What's the song? Blackberry Molasses.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So that's him. Also, he's done some stuff commercially too through ESPN and whatnot. He has an amazing story. That's one to check out. He was actually interviewed by Corey Rock Bottom Davis, Preach Jacobs, and I want to say Holiday X as well. That's our people down there in Charleston. And then this Friday, last night, we actually released Chantel TLM, the Lyrical Maze. She's a Columbia-based MC and freestyle artist. So she was a part of Coors Light Who's the Coldest MC Challenge.
Oh, okay.
And she was also with the Team Backpack Cypher. Amazing talent. And she actually tells an amazing story too. And so these are episodes that we're dropping, like I said, every Friday, and they're exclusively on Patreon. And one of the things I want to say is our Patreon, we have exclusive membership. It's $5 a month, and you'll get all of the video footage that we have from the Great Talks project up there. But also moving forward, all of our video interviews that we have through the podcast are going to be up there as well. And we're also going to be offering information up there too for like our merch, how you get discounts and all those things. As a matter of fact, I got a hat on today. Hat. We're going to have a store coming out soon. My daughter's running around here. She got a Hilltop Glove shirt on. So definitely check that out. And that's really it. And then honestly, I just want to say, when it comes to Create, right now, we're actually in the process of developing what our resources are going to be. As far as we want to be able to create a site where creatives can go on and they can access all the tools and resources they need to do anything creatively. Anything from putting on a musical performance to putting on an art show. We want to have all these resources available to them. That's going to be what we're going to be working on starting at the beginning of 2024. And then honestly, we just really want people just to know that wise to support people like yourself. That's first and foremost, because one of the things is, so a couple weeks ago, I went out to Seattle, Washington. And so I was out there for a week. So my wife and I, we did a bucket list trip out there to Westernmost Point. But when I was around there, the last day, we decided to check out some of the different the arts community in general, and then just seeing some of the differences out there versus
what we have here. And one of the things is, I think in Columbia, we take for granted how many of the awesome resources we have, especially as Black people, especially from a creative sense in the community. And just really just taking advantage of that, appreciating that. Because I know naturally we're always like, well, it seems like it's always popping off over here. It always seems like it's popping off over there. But we got a lot of beautiful things here. Not only, just like I said, just especially with the stuff that you work on. And so we really just want to just make sure people just realize the amazing things that you do. But then on top of it, just supporting everyone that's trying to do something creative. Like, hey, and not just by just showing up to events, but also paying for, if people got products and services, please pay for these products and services that people offer. And please respect at price, and please respect it. And then even when it comes to things like social media, and this is the thing, like Quasi, I've been to your events, I see how many people at your events. I see how many times you post stuff. If I go to your events and I see more than 50, 60 people at your events, you shouldn't have something online that you post and you only got 10 likes.
Right.
It's coming across people's stream. And you see, and that's the problem that we have here. You see, the thing is, everybody's seeing these things come across streams, and we know likes are what bring it up to attention, and we see things in the city that we know that might be affiliated with this culture, not indirectly or directly, that, like I said, are from different people. We need to be consistent across the board. Like when I see some of your stuff come across the screen, I don't even care if I'm even gonna be there. Guess what? I like it.
Right.
Right? Every time it comes across, I like it. I don't I like it. If everybody does that, guess what? When people are posting things, instead of it having like 10 or 11 or 12 likes on it, it has 200 likes. Then all of a sudden those things are gonna get boosted, and it's gonna bring more attention to it, and more exposure to it, and that's what's gonna build this city up. But we don't do that, and I think that's really one of the main things that I really want to talk about and just get off my chest today, because, like I said, I see that all the time, and it's not even just about our events, but anybody else's events who are doing things that are giving back to the culture. Yeah. We just want to make sure that people do that, because, like I said, I can go on right now and I can look and see how many times you might have posted for this particular event here today, and see how many people like it, or even people who are involved that are artists who are posting stuff, and they only have a little bit of interest and a lot of engagement. But when it comes to other things, even outside this city, guess what? They're liking it, they're supporting it, they're making comments on it, and that's the type of crap I just really want to stop. Yeah, that's really it.
You forgot to talk about season 4 coming up. You know, we got season 4 of the podcast coming up. So we're also looking for people to, interview in other states like Greenville, Durham. So if you know anyone you want to recommend, that'll be perfect. Or, we also are taking Spotify music from people who do music. We have a Spotify playlist, so we're always trying to promote and help people use our platform the best way possible. And a lot of people don't know that we also produce other podcasts for other people. So if anyone is struggling with like editing, stuff like that, marketing content, what platforms to use, we actually do that for you. And we also are doing our podcast in 101 class with Richland Library. It's our last one for this year. It's going to be October 21st at the Richland Library, 1 to 3:30, and it's free. So come get some free information. We always like to help people.
Oh, and then for myself specifically, I know one thing we're going to start doing with the podcast is taking advantage of dealing with musicians in a straight musician-based thing where we're just asking about their albums, projects, etc., not necessarily the business. And basically, at the end of each episode, as you know, you've already been on the show, we do shameless plugs. Right. We just tell everything that you got going on, where they can find you, and all that other good stuff. So what we're going to do is I will actually have virtual meetings with different artists. They ask them about their albums, projects, what they got coming up, their hottest music, stuff that they had. And most of these people are going to see they've been featured on our actual playlist that's on Spotify. So we're actually going to give those people a chance to have 5, probably 10 minutes to talk about what they have going on. Those things will be posted outside of the normal content, so that way folks can see what's going on inside of the music world, because technically we've been avoiding dealing with music for the last 3 seasons, so this will be a nice little change for us.
Sponsorship. You got to get that money. All right, so if you got a business and you're looking to expand into a different market, we're also looking for sponsorship. It's a one-time fee, $150. The great part is that your commercial will stay on our streaming platforms. As at the beginning of each episode, we have at least 50 to 100 downloads per episode, so it's great marketing if you don't know how to get and tap into that area.
Yeah, and I think they pretty much tapped on everything. Like I said, I made it, and I think that's the beautiful thing about us, because we do have a team. So we're there to kind of pick each other up and to cover different things. But yeah, they pretty much, so touched it. As far as like you said about the podcast, so season 4, we dropped our first episode this past Tuesday, and that's just a recap from season 3, just some of the things we're working on moving forward. Next Tuesday, or this Tuesday coming up, our first guest interview will actually be with Tyrone Jeter. Columbia-based artist, also he's former professor. Tamaya, former professor at Benedict. Yeah, former professor at Benedict. So we interviewed him a couple weeks ago at 701 Whaley. Shout out to them. Really great interview. So that'll be available Tuesday. And then, like I said, every week on Tuesdays we'll drop our episodes for the Hilltop Club.
Okay. So we're gonna wrap it up with a question we always do. How we wrap up everything. I need top 5 from everybody. All 3 of y'all. I need a top 5 from all 3 of y'all real quick.
All right, top 5, no particular order. It's hip hop, obviously. So I'll go with Biggie. I'll go with Snoop. I'll go with Jay-Z. I'll go with Kendrick. And I would say for my 5, this is very hard. I'll go with Nas.
Nas on mine. I love Big Sean. Andre 3000.
Yeah.
Who else did I say?
You know who to follow out.
Oh yeah, Saw Rock for the women. Let me do another female. I like Eve.
Eve?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I always start with mine. I got Nas. I'm gonna take Q-Tip. Let me get Chuck D. And I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take J. Cole. I'll take J. Cole, and then I always have to finish out with. Let's see. Let me get Lauren. I gotta have Lauren. I gotta have something.
I like Lauren.
Balance
I like Lauren. I like Lauren in the top 5, whatever.
Yes.
I love it. I like it. Now, as we can see where this is going, I was gonna win this game of chess.
Hey.
I mean, look at the board. Look at the board. So I do this shit in real life, distracted. But I want to give it up for our guests, the Hilltop Glove. Thank you guys so much. We appreciate it. Thank you guys for everything you do in the community. It's much needed, and I can't wait to see this episode. If you need somebody desperately, I'll come back on. I'll come light it up one more time.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you guys so much. We appreciate it. Chess Table Talks.
Having us.
Yeah.